Okay, so welcome back. I'm working on the last part of my series of videos. It's going to be the hardest part. I'm a little worried about how this one's going to work out because this is a little more difficult than the other sides. I do have a little playroom because I do have a gap around the object itself. The problem is I have to, or I plan to, cover the whole side with the black, cut away the shape that I want, and then I have to pull out the bits that are going to be red or clear. Now, originally I thought that I could pull these pieces out in one piece, lay them on top of a sheet of spare black that I have, and then trace it. Except having learned from experience on all the other sides, this is the last side that we did. I should actually go back and start at the beginning. This is side number 1. I had a little piece break off while I was doing the other sides. So this fella's got to get glued back on when I'm done. But otherwise, it's held up pretty good. Side number 2 was this one. That's Gotham City. Side number 3 is our Joker side. And what I've discovered in all of these sides is when I've pulled out this bit, it does not come out easily. It's been coming out in little tiny bits and pieces, and it's been quite a lot of work to get those out. And that means that I'm not going to be able to pull out these pieces and use them as not really stencils, but as, I can't think of the word. I won't be able to trace them. Let's put it that way. I won't be able to trace them to get the right shape to go back in. And I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do about that yet. I might cut this whole thing out and use it as a pattern. And that way I can cut each piece separately and use it as a pattern. My father used to do what's called marquetry in wood, and he would make entire pictures in wood. And what he would do is he would draw the picture out first, and then he would cut each little tiny piece of paper out of the picture, lay it on top of a piece of wood, and he would lay it on top of the wood so that it matched the grain that he wanted, so it would have the type of pattern that he wanted. He would even match the type of wood, maple or oak or whatever it was, so that it would take the stain and have the right color. And he would carve it with a little knife or with his scroll saw to match the piece of paper, and then he would put all the little pieces back together like a puzzle. So I'm kind of thinking that might be my best plan on how to do this. So first, though, I have to get my clay onto my lamp. And I'm just going to get out my scissors. Actually, I should get some smaller scissors because this is going to be kind of delicate. I'm going to be a bad person because I'm using my good crafting scissors for paper, which is not a good idea, but my other scissors are just too darn big. So let's just put the clay on first, and then we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I have my red all laid out, ready to go. And I have my black, which for some reason has a little red ball on it, laid out, ready to go. So really what I need to do really is just match up, and that edge isn't very straight. I'm just going to straighten that edge up. I've actually had a lot of fun with this project. It's been challenging, and I'm having a lot of issues with the video editing part of it. But on the whole, I'm having some fun. I quite like having challenging projects because I learn something new every time I do them. And then if I survive them, I feel brave enough to try the next one. And obviously, I've survived them all yet because I haven't given up yet. Because really, what's the worst that can happen is that you're just not happy with the final product. And you try it another way. Excuse my sniffing, I'm sorry. You'll notice I'm talking my way through this one again. Why? Because the last one I found out that no, I cannot, at least not in the project that or the editing program that my husband downloaded. I can't actually figure out how to separate parts of the video and speed them up. I was hoping that I could, so that when I hit the part where I'm just kind of working away, I could speed up the video and you wouldn't have to listen to me the whole time. But nope, that's not really something I can do. I'm just going to try and see if I can't push that down well enough to see where the edge is. Because that's butting up against the first side. I don't know how well I got that. Nope, it's not. Take a little bit more off. Actually is there. If I trim this a bit, I should be able to see where it is here. And line those up. So anyways, now you're stuck listening to me. I kind of hoped I wouldn't have to babble my way through the boring bits for you, but like I said, I'm just not good at this whole, I should try and keep that nice and flat in case I need it for one of the other bits. Not good at the whole video editing thing. I need a technical advisor. That would be nice. Someone who could just hand them, see now I've cut it too small. Someone I can hand them my finished product and say, here you go, do this and this and this. And then upload it when you're done, would you please? And then I'd be all set. Because the last one, what I ended up doing is I actually put my camera is laying on a framework to hold it above the work while I'm working. And I put the camera upside down by accident. And so the entire video was filmed upside down according to the orientation. And so I had to put it into an editing program to flip it back around, which was easy enough, really, except that once it saved the flipped around video, it wouldn't recognize it with anything and it wouldn't play it. So I'm now in the process of converting, because my husband got me a conversion thing that's supposed to make the files smaller, because obviously if I have a video that takes an hour and something to watch, it's quite a large video, and it was taking forever to load on YouTube. So he got me a converter to make it into a smaller format to make it easier to upload. So I'm hoping that once I take my not working video that's now been put right side up again and convert it to whatever it converted all the other stuff to, that now it'll actually play and then I'll be able to upload it. So that's why there's kind of been a delay on getting, oh now I've got a hair in it. That's lovely. Getting number 3 video online because I'm having some issues with it. Okay. So I can smooth those out a bit later. For now, at least, it's all fit in there and it's attached on both sides. And now, take a second, I think, and cut out. I'm going to put this. Cut out my carbon. I did do this to scale, which is kind of the nice part about it. I traced the glass container to get the right size. And so theoretically, I should be able to use my drawing and trace it and cut the pieces out. And maybe it'll work. It's got to be easier than trying to pry out bits and then hand draw them to fit back into the holes. That's my thought. It has to be easier than that. So I think I'll do the outside first. So I will trace or cut along my traced outline. Lay this on top. And then cut away the center. And then I'll start to fill. I know these scissors are humongous, but I love them. They'll cut through absolutely anything. So I'm going to put them down there so I know where they go, so I don't lose track of what I'm doing. Although I just realized it might be kind of hard to figure out how far apart they need to go. Perhaps I'll have to cut out the inside first. Although then I have to figure out where I lay the inside on the background so that it's the right size from the edges. So maybe I'll cut everything out. I'll lay the whole darn thing on there. And I'll trace it all at once. Maybe that'll work. Because anything that's black, I can leave it where it is. It's the red parts that are the problem. The clear parts, I'm just going to pull them off and leave them plain, so it doesn't matter. But the parts that are going to be red, and I explained this in my other video, what I did is I took my red clay, my polymer clay, and I actually blended it. It's like 1/4 red. And the rest is actually translucent. So it's not a bright, vivid red. I mean, compared to my matte, it's not too bad. But I'm hoping that the light, once it's all baked and on the glass, the light will shine through it and make it look kind of like a nice, rich red stained glass color. I think that would look pretty cool. Okay, so here I've got this and this. So the part I need to cut away now is my gap, the gap that I left myself between the figure and the outside background bit. And I could kind of play around with my gap a little bit. So if I'm not totally centered on something, I just kind of wiggle my gap. Here I said I was getting out my little craft scissors so I wouldn't have to do the fine work with these big ones, and then I lied. That part of me that absolutely does not want to use my good scissors for paper. Especially when I just had to go buy these scissors because all my other scissors get used for all sorts of stuff and then they don't work right. I'm pretty sure Christmas wrapping paper killed the last pair. That's my theory anyways, because they were fine before Christmas and then we wrapped a whole bunch of presents. And then they didn't want to work right anymore. So, surprise, surprise, I don't know if you can tell from the brightness of the video or not, it's actually daylight. I'm doing some crafting in the daylight, which is highly unusual for me. I was sitting around. My honey just went back to his sister's house because he's got a new job and he's kind of in a transition period where he has to do his probation in another city. So I haven't been seeing a lot of him since the wedding. He's been home for a few days, which means, of course, I haven't really been doing much for the last few days, but spending time with the honey. And so we left, and of course I'm sitting around, I'm having a hard part with this, sitting around with my computer that won't finish the stuff I want it to do yet. And I was a little, did I just act, I think I did, I like cut a bit off my little ball. Make him more round. Staring at the computer that's supposed to be converting this video that I hope is going to work so I can now put it on. I was getting a little annoyed because I also can't do anything else on my computer while all this stuff is converting and downloading. Otherwise it takes so long. I tried that the first day. I was doing other things like I normally would, and it took 2 days to download the first video for this. So, things that I would normally be doing. Did I just cut the wrong line? I did. Things I would normally be doing, like working on my blog or Facebook posts or things like that, I can't do. So, if anyone is actually getting to this video through the blog, and you're wondering why there's been a gap of several days on the blog, it's because my computer is all clogged up with videos. That's why. Alright, so in theory, this goes there, that goes there, this goes there, and this goes there. Step one. So, once I get this on there, this part I have to cut out and trace in red. This is going to be clear because this is meant to be white. So the light's going to shine through, and her face, including her eyes and her mouth, are going to be clear, and the light's going to shine through. The little strip that I accidentally almost cut is also red because it's the opposite. It's the other half of this, the opposite of her black for her hat. So the black bits can stay. I was going to try and make her mouth red, but I don't think I can. I think I might have to leave that black. I think it might be too tiny to try and get in there. So I think on hindsight, I'm going to save myself some stress and I'm going to leave that black. So all I really have to do right now is trace this, peel out the dividing bits, peel out the bits that are going to be red, and peel out the white bits. I think I might leave the white bits for now where they are because it'll give me something to butt the other pieces up against, I think. So let's get started. Here's my glass piece. And hopefully my sizing wasn't too far off on this. Like I said, I traced it, so it should be fairly close. So that was the top piece. Let's see if I can get it to stick down a little bit. Because I'd like them to stay in place at least long enough to line it all up. Oh, it's a little bit wider than I guess because I did trace it, so it's the outside edge. And then we have Harlequin herself. I was a little worried that the ball would go too far over the other side, but it seems okay. I can always lessen my little gap around it if I have to. So there's Harlequin. Although she's sticking too far down. Okay, so we'll move this up. We'll just let it overhang a little bit. Because I don't really care if this is not lined up. Now she's not straight. Perhaps I should start with the bottom. Let's start with the bottom. We'll put her where we want her, except, no, I guess there's still enough. Still enough to at least show what I'm doing. I'm going to have to probably move it a little bit still. We'll stick her down. We'll line this up where we want it. Alright, that could be worse. That piece goes there. Now, as long as I can get them to stay where they are long enough to trace them, this shouldn't be too bad. Paper doesn't necessarily like to stick to polymer clay though, so that's kind of the issue. I'm going to have to do this guy first, I think, because he doesn't want to stay put. So we're going to trace him first. Just make sure I remember that I'm pulling out this part and I don't accidentally start trying to pull out something else. I mentioned before my knife doesn't have a very, it's got a small edge, but it's not, it does have a little flat spot on it. So going around corners, oh there, I've hit a hard part. That must be the side that's already baked. Which means I may not get the full ball on that side because I can't cut it away. I think I've just barely, I'm running straight, so I probably have just hit the hardened edge from my other one on that side too. So it's going to limit how far over I can take this picture. Did I finish that whole thing? Yes, okay, so we can get rid of that paper. So I can't really go down here because this is baked. I'm going to start here. That's that shoulder. I think I already got this. The side of her hat. See how much of this ball we're actually going to get. We're going to get about half of it, but at least it'll be enough to show what it is. I think I'm going to turn the whole thing and start here. Somehow starting in the middle and going towards the outside seems to work better. I don't know why. Maybe the paper's more stable that way. That's as far as I can go with that one. So far, at least, I've managed not to cut through the paper, though, which is good. I don't know if you can tell. You probably can't see it. There's a pile of books right there. So the problem with this, the problem is that sometimes there's not a lot of room for my hands to move around because the books are holding up the rack that's holding up the camera. Because the original rack that I got was a little bit too short. It gave you a real good close-up. But it meant that I couldn't move my hand around very well. And you'll hear on the last video, I keep hitting the end of my one stylus. It keeps hitting the wire rack. So you'll keep hearing this. It's quite a long stylus, and every time I went to pick it up, I whacked it on the rack. It's kind of musical, I suppose. But in case you wonder what that is, that's just not having enough room. All right, so this piece I'm pretty sure I've got totally traced. Get rid of that. I might get almost the whole ball on this side. I wonder if I should, no, that's going to be black anyway, so it doesn't matter. I've got a line here in the picture. But I don't know if I really need it. Or I could just cut a little tiny slot in it just to give the impression. Because that's the back of her head, and this is where her little pom-pom bit pops out. I don't know if I really need to show that or not. How far did I get? I got to here. Somewhere along the way I'll have to decide if I want to show that line. Because I could just cut a little tiny slot for the light to shine through. To show where it is, but I don't know if I really need it. If it looks funny, I suppose, then I'll have to go back and do it. But once I take the piece off, it's going to be kind of guesswork. Okay, I think I've got her whole face done. I think this was my best idea yet, trying to do it this way. Thank you, Dad, for the idea. I was always amazed. He used to do the most beautiful work. He did one of a big eagle once. And every feather was actually 3 pieces of wood. He had the stalk, the stem part that goes up the center of the feather would be 1 piece, cut in a really thin sliver. And then he would pick the grain so that it ran outwards from the center stem. And he would cut each outside half of the feather on a grain that would, on a piece of wood with the proper grain direction. And so it looked like all the little tiny stripes that are on a feather. Absolutely amazing. He had so much patience. He had a lot of back operations, and so he was kind of stuck there where he couldn't do a lot. And that was what he did with his time. He made his little woodworking projects to keep him from going insane from boredom. I guess I got that honestly. I'm almost afraid to take this piece off. Because I don't want to mess with it. I wonder if I could just poke through the design. Maybe that's what I can do. Then I can cut it afterwards. Because I really just want to make sure I get this face in the right spot. I don't really need to take, oh, I suppose I need to do the mask in the lips. So this black part is staying right down to there. This might have been a good idea, because now I have the lines on the clay. I'll do this part just in case I decide later that I want it. Now I have lines on the clay, so I know which parts to pull out. And then once I cut the stencil, I will be able to use that to put the bits back in. Sometimes fly by the seat of your stuff works fairly well. Other times not so much. Like when I do my video upside down and spend 2 days trying to correct the problem. Not my finest moment. So frustrating too when I realized what I did and I went, no! How do I fix that? Strangely enough, the editing program that Chris got me, you can do all sorts of stuff with it. Especially if you want to pay for the Pro, which we didn't. Oh yeah, you can add transitions and music and all that kind of stuff that I would never be able to figure out. But the one thing that it did not have was speeding it up. I don't understand. I see so many people that have sped up parts of their video and I don't understand why they wouldn't have done that. So I need a line across here. I was thinking it was all the same color and then I remembered this part's red and that part's clear. So I do, oops, that's where I accidentally cut it. I do need that. I'm going to have to put those two pieces together. Oh no, I don't. No, I don't. This is where I almost accidentally cut it. This is part of the outline, so this part goes away. There we go. Sorry, I'm talking to myself. So this part does not belong either. Hopefully I don't pull off the whole thing while I do it. Maybe I'll deal with it later. Okay, so I got this part cut. I got the outside edge of the face cut. Lips. I need lips. They're so skinny, I just don't think I could manage to get them red. Unless I suppose I made some little tiny worms and just kind of laid them in there and then flattened them out. But I don't think I could get the right shape doing that. Since they're thicker at one side and thinner at the other side, and I don't know. All things considered, it was a fairly simple design compared to like the ones of the Joker's face. I took one look at the Joker stuff and went, yeah, that's not happening. Just not that talented. Did I cut that? I did. So, collar. I don't know if this, it's got these little balls on it. I guess because she's kind of like a clown. Well, not a clown, a jester. Difference, I guess. I didn't know if her clown ball on the bottom here was going to actually get in the picture, but I guess it is. curious to find out whether anyone has actually decided that they're going to be brave and try this. If you do, and you figure out a better way to do some of the things I've done, by all means, send me a message and let me know. It'll take me about 20 minutes to figure out how to send you a reply, but still, it would be very nice to know if there was another method in case I decide I want to do something like this sometime again. Although I do think this particular idea is going to work out nicely. All right, do I have everything traced before I take this off? I think I have a line there, the balls. I guess I should follow this tiny little line because that's the difference between the black and the red. Cross my fingers, hope for the best. And haha! I think it actually worked. Oh, I threw that away. I shouldn't have thrown that away. I have to pick that back out. Can you see all that? It did actually show. I still need to cut this thing up though, so I can't put that anywhere. So, next, what do I want to do next? So this side's the black side, which means that little ball has to be red. So that's coming out of there. All right. Do I take her face out? I should probably, I guess, take her face out there. Now that I have the lines, I guess I don't have to worry about not putting it back in the right spot. And I can just join up my... Now the edges of this aren't going to be the most smooth in the world because I did it that way, but I can smooth them out later on. It's kind of a painstaking little process, but I still think that was probably the easiest way I could think of to do this. That is why I have my little stylus. Like so. So we are at half an hour. I'm trying to think, I'm probably going to have to do this in 2 bits to see if I can make it a little quicker to download. I'm just trying to figure out where I want to stop to start the next section. So somewhere along the way I probably will just stop it and start the next section. Maybe I'll pull out my clear bits first, because then we're starting on a different method altogether. And there's a hair stuck to the end of my X-Acto knife. Fabulous. I have 2 dogs. They shed like crazy. I just realized something. I have this outline, and the outline is to delineate where all that stuff is. However, the outline is going to get pulled out and the face is going to get pulled out, and they're side by side. So I think my outline needs to stop here, because the mask is going to be it's going to stay black, so the outline will show where the edge of the mask is. But I don't think I want that outline beside her face. I don't, because I want to see the edge of her face, and I don't want it to be extra wide because there's a gap beside it. And this is the red side, so this is red. So yeah, I kind of need to start. I need my outline to be here. I need it to be here, but I don't want it to be. I don't want it to be where her face is. I'm just going to blend those back together where I cut that outline. Glad I thought of that before I pull it out, because that would have been such a pain to fix. I'll have to remember to recut my outline. Recut my outline right there. And right there. But not here. This is her face, and I want it to be right up against the black background. All right. Good thing I figured that out. I did cut this part already, right? So, they're gonna come out in one piece. Yes! I love it when that happens. Love it, love it, love it. I haven't cut her lips yet, so remind me not to do that. There's such a potential for screwing up when you're trying to do something like this little tiny piece in the center of a whole other bunch of tiny little pieces, because if I don't cut all the way through it and I pull it up and it pulls on her lips, like I say, it's going to be real hard to get those fixed. So of course it can't pull up in one big nice piece. That would be too easy. Definitely have to go back and fix that up a little bit. May have taken out a little bit too much on that side. There's still a little tiny line there, but not much. All right, so far so good. I have to do the outside of the lips before I try to pull her face off, which sounds funny. This is the part I'm worried about because that's so thin. I think I will try to do this in more than one piece. Ooh, that would be nice if that all came off. Ah, no, 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 it's pulling on her lips. Ah, whew. Okay. Nerve-wracking, nerve-wracking, very nerve-wracking. And still with the lips. Why are those lips detached yet? I don't know how many times I have to cut the same darn thing before it actually... There, okay. That could have been way worse, I suppose. In case you wonder what I'm doing when I do this, sometimes it'll stick to itself and pull those little tiny pieces of clay off. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's still easier than trying to get in there and do this kind of a thing. But all right, the face is off. Hallelujah. Let's see if we can get the rest of this outline bit removed without wrecking her mask. I thought I just wrecked it, but I realized that's how it's supposed to look. Not sure if I like it, but that was how the original design was supposed to look. around the little ball. The ball is staying in place because this is the ball that has to be black. The other ball is the one that's going to be red. Right. I shouldn't really drag the bottom like that. That's probably how I broke that little piece off. Somewhere here, there it is. I've hit the edge of the hard bit that's already baked. Oops. Sorry, Tonka. Just totally woke up the dog. He's not happy with me at all. I also managed to move my little ball and then accidentally glue a piece of removed stuff on top of it. Lovely. I guess I'll have to smooth that off later. This is where we're going to find out if my theory holds true, that if you don't remove this clay the moment you do it, it sticks back down again. Wait, this is working. Ooh, I like it. I already removed that ball because that ball has to be red and it's going to be so tiny. Maybe I can just take a little balled up piece of red and push it in there. It just so happens I have a little balled up piece of red, so I might try that and see. Oh, there my luck just came to an end. Give this a bit of a recut. And on that side. There we go. Oops. Stopped too soon. And then we've hit the part that's already baked on this side. I don't know if there's anything I can manage to pull out of there. Oops, I think I just pulled out a little baked bit. But that's okay. Just kind of like to show a little bit of a gap right there, so the outline's complete. That bit's baked. Put those somewhere else so I don't try to put them back in the pile. All right. So far, so good. I shouldn't have said that. I probably just jinxed it. This is where that line from the A-Team comes in handy. You know how old you are by if you know who the A-Team was and watched it as a kid. If you did, you'll get the line that says, "I love it when a plan comes together," which I like to use quite a bit, and nobody ever knows what I'm talking about. And I did want this to continue over and to go up there. It's not coming out very smoothly. However, that is our outline done and the face done, more or less. So that's not a bad start. Not bad at all. So the only other part that's going to be clear is her funny clown-like collar. So I think I will take that out. And then once all this clear bit is out, I will end the video there and start the part 2 where we put the stuff back in. And that hopefully keeps this video thought it was going to be short. It's actually at 45 minutes now, so it'll be under an hour. For me, that's kind of short. I really would like to figure out how to get things to a half hour, but then it'd be like a 10-part series on the same project. I don't know if anyone would actually come back 10 times to watch the same project. I really don't know. Okay, that came out fairly well. And the little balls. I guess I don't really need to worry too much about putting them back in, so it doesn't really matter if they don't come out well. Although it did actually come out well. This guy's right on the edge. Oops. Keep sliding off the bottom of that. There's a little curve on the edge of this part, and I keep sliding down. So I'm going to have to tidy that part up. I will do that later with my stylus or my sculpting tools. All right. That's fairly good for now. On that note, I'm going to hit pause, take a potty break, blow my nose so you don't have to listen to me sniffle. And then I will come back and we will try to add back in this piece, little red ball, this piece, and this half here. Oh, and here I was busy cutting out that ball and it's not going to be there anyways. That was silly. Okay, anyways, so far so good. Back momentarily.